Hi, welcome back to the Idaho 4 case to do with Bryan Kohberger. Welcome if you're currently here in the live video premiere, I appreciate it. Today we're continuing on with the latest news within the case, as well as Kohberger's past criminal history of getting into trouble. Read through that article, see what it's all about, see if there's any early warning signs of what he was going to end up doing years on from then. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We have some additional articles as well. I think maybe some more comparisons with other serial killers or something. And then the other article to do with when the house, the Idaho 4 one, is going to be demolished. So we can read through them all, see what it's talking about. You can share your own thoughts, opinions, and reactions in the live chat on the right-hand side. And you can talk about a range of other stuff in between. I think the format, what I'll do today, a little bit different than normal. I'll go through one article at a time, but then in between, I'll give my own thoughts and opinions and switch back to on-screen here, just to break it up a little bit, okay? As well, if you haven't already, make sure to check my previous video out last night. I'll provide a link down below in the pinned comment section so you can catch up with everything. Also, shout out to the likes of, was it Badger Life, Matt Lingo, Cleo, of course, people like that, and maybe some others in the background for their presence in recent time, as well as probably Skeptical too. It's very good of them. So yeah, we don't need to check the comments out of the last Idaho 4 video I did because I already responded back to them previous. So I think we should just get right on into it now and look into the first article to do with Bryan Kohberger's past. So the title reads, Bryan Kohberger has secret arrest record from 2014 report. I wonder why it says secret. Why was it a secret and why has it been kept this long? I wonder. It was hard to find. Well, we'll see what it says. Kohberger had troubles with drug addiction. Right, okay. June 30th, 2023, this was posted. Right. Idaho student murder suspect Bryan Kohberger had a 2014 arrest for stealing from his own sister, as his dad told police about struggles with drug addiction, according to a new report. Kohberger was 19 and had not yet kicked an alleged heroin habit at the time. Pennsylvania's publicly available court records show no signs of the case, which was reportedly expunged under a program for first-time offenders. Right, I guess it's harder to find. There's Kohberger there. Kohberger's dad, Michael Kohberger, told police his son stole his daughter's iPhone, according to ABC report based on apparent copies of the records. Kohberger has two sisters, Melissa and Amanda, but it was not clear from the report which one had her phone stolen. So already, right, so you've got a bit of a drug addiction problem. You know, sometimes when people are under the influence, under a substance use, and they experience side effects, it can lead to them doing further bad actions, right? Depends what the side effects are. It could make them a bit more aggressive, could make them a bit more unstable, reckless, whatever, and they could end up harming others down the line. When we're looking at the Dylan Rounds case, and we're looking in the year in review of 2022, I think, was it Box Elder or to do with Nevada areas, where it said that fentanyl use was at an all-time high side effects of like schizophrenic type symptoms, being a danger to the general public, right? Although it wasn't directly to do with Dylan Round's case or him going missing or being killed, but it was like trying to understand, you know, with the whole drug dealing and drug carrying, was anyone under the influence at the time, which led to taking it out on Dylan Rounds. Did Dylan Rounds see something he wasn't supposed to see, like a deal take place? That's where it came about. And looking back at the past history of all these different characters within the case as to what they got up to and did they ever use certain substances, right? And now we look here with Kohberger, completely different case, still to do with true crime. And, you know, he got into trouble in the past. So with the substance use back then, did it alter Kohberger's mindset down the line? Did it send him down a dark path? Did he experience any side effects, withdrawal effects? You know, I've not heard anything said up to this point about Kohberger being under the influence of a substance during the time of the killing of the Idaho 4 case, but you never know, right? All depends. As well as it mentions here that Kohberger stole son stole his daughter's iPhone. Okay. So by stealing an iPhone, why? Because he wanted to use it himself. Do you call it burglary? Not really, but stealing stuff, just the theme of stealing things. And, Kohberger within the Idaho 4 case has also been charged with burglary, besides the killing, burglary as well. So you see these little actions on a small scale in the past, maybe not extremely serious, but small telling signs of how he would act down the line, right? Was it preventable though? I don't think so. But let's just carry on reading and see what else is mentioned. Kohberger has two, yeah. But it was not clear from which had her phone stolen. Oh, the sister. Right, it's dodgy, the wording of this. It does annoy me at times. Police declined to comment but confirmed the case had been expunged and the record no longer exists. The Monroe County District Attorney's Office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Who's that there? Is that... what? God, she's got a big face mask. It covers a whole face almost. I've never seen a mask that big. Anyway, it says Bryan Kohberger's father. It's not Michael Kohberger. I wasn't sure if it was a female. It was hard to tell. Okay, and that was from the Monroe County Courthouse in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, January 3rd, 2023, after his son's extradition hearing. Okay. Says Kohberger eventually got his life together, picking up boxing and running before going to college. He earned a master's degree in criminal justice and attended a semester at Washington State University in pursuit of a PhD. Right, so he involved himself in boxing and running. So if you think about it, depending how much practice and effort he put into the boxing, he learned some new skills, how to defend himself, the physicality aspect. So you think of the Idaho 4 case as Kohberger's in the house at the time, taking some of the people out. There's some reports that the guy that got killed in there was trying to fight Kohberger off and push him away. But, if Kohberger has some experience with boxing, that's going to be in his favour. There'll be strengths to counter who's attacking him. Just another little background thing picked up on, okay? Says now Kohberger, 28 years of age, has been accused of stabbing to death 4 undergrads at the neighbouring university. There's all the names. We don't need to keep reading it out because we have seen it several times now. 4 students had gone out in pairs on a Friday night a few days before Thanksgiving break before returning to an off-campus rental house on King Road where the 3 women lived with 2 of the roommates. Chapin and Knodel were dating. Chapin was staying for the night. Just for the night. Now, did Kohberger anticipate that? Probably not. I mean, from the recent discussions in the live chat, it seemed as if Kohberger was targeting a specific gender, maybe. Maybe because it's, I don't know, he sees them as easier targets. And then when he came across the likes of Chapin, he thought, ooh, but he still managed. Let's see. The other 2 roommates were spared from the attack. One of them told the police she saw a masked man with bushy eyebrows leaving out the back door after hearing crying and the sounds of a struggle. So wearing a mask. Now, was that mask ever found? Does anyone know? What type of mask was it? A simple face one during the virus and outbreak? Or was it more of a, I don't know, when you get the bank robber mask? Any of them? Weeks after the attack, Kohberger drove back to his parents' house in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, with his dad riding shotgun. He was arrested there on December 30th. Amanda Kohberger, sister of Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger, is spotted exiting Monroe, the courthouse, same day as the father. A judge entered a not guilty plea on Kohberger's behalf because of being quiet. 6 months after the arrest at his arraignment, following a grand jury indictment that trampled his defence team's plan to fight the probable cause used to arrest him in a preliminary hearing. Kohberger is being held without bail at the Latah County Jail in Moscow, Idaho. His trial is rescheduled for October and could take up to 6 weeks. If convicted, prosecutors have filed notice stating they intend to seek death penalty. Right, so all in all, what's going through my mind at the moment when reading some of this stuff? Does it ring any strong suspicion or worry? If you used to look back then when Kohberger got in trouble, 2014 arrest for stealing from his own sister the phone. Struggles with drug addiction. I mean, it's, put aside the drug addiction part, stealing a phone isn't the end of the world. It's still bad, but it's not completely the end of the world. But despite that, I still see the stealing part as being a bit dishonest and a bit sneaky as well. You tie it in line with the Idaho 4 case where one of the charges is burglary. It's kind of like a step up, right? Did he actually steal anything? Not that I'm aware of, but, you know, I guess like the breaking and entering type aspect, sneaking around at first, lurking, as well as supposedly scouting the area out previous, as well online behaviour, how he might have been researching and kind of stalking people in a sense. It kind of makes you think that back then when he stole sister's phone, why? What was the main reason for it? To get revenge? Because he wanted to see what his sister was looking at, look at certain contacts, photos, social media. You know, it's like weird, sneaky behaviour going on in the background, right? And, you know, if you just look in general with other people out there, right? Maybe it doesn't quite apply here, but just hold with me. When you've had it with other serial killers where they might have performed a certain action in the past and it's been upgraded and it's intensified and it's got more serious as time's gone on. Sometimes when these people commit a crime the first time, they might do it again and again. They can't help themselves, they can't control themselves. That could be a cause. And if not that, maybe they enjoy that feeling, the thrill of doing bad things and maybe getting away with it at times. They just keep going. Now with Kohberger, it appears like he did get in trouble in the past and he did get caught. So it's that theme of getting caught, right? You didn't really get away with it. And you look now, supposedly him being the one responsible, got caught again. So it's not like he made any attempts to adapt or improve from the looks of it, I guess, because, you know, he is where he is right now. As for the drug addiction part, could that have creeped into his life once again in the background? Are we going to hear some kind of news report story on that coming up? I don't know. Could Kohberger have been under the substance of it at the time of when it happened? I don't think so. I've not heard any reports of it, nor in the court documents. So that's not likely the case. But is there any possible long-term damage caused by the use of taking drugs back when he was about 19 years of age? Could there have been any long-term effects which might cause like things to trigger within him, uncontrollable rage, or I don't know, thinking oddly, not being the usual self? You know, just very very loosely. I'm not obviously not an expert because I don't take drugs like other people do, okay? But of course, anyone in the chat right now, share your thoughts as, you know, what you think. Do you feel that Bryan Kohberger's past history relates or links to why he did what he did with the Idaho 4 case, or is there no correlation whatsoever, right? It's probably a bit harder to explain in this one, like with the Dylan Rounds case and Brenner, with Brenner being involved in firearm charges, fatal woundings in the past, firing warning shots at people, threatening behaviour, being physical, getting into fights. And then you find out about Dylan Rounds, who's gone missing and been killed. You know, you look back at Brenner and you think, well, obviously he's more likely the one to be responsible, even when you're not looking at the evidence based off the criminal history. And that's how it's turned out, right? Kohberger, though, he doesn't really have as much of a dark, dirty past as, you know, in the likes of Brenner. Of course, different cases, different environments, different ages. And I think that's one of the big factors that plays a role. With Brenner, the age he is, over his lifetime, he would have committed more and got in trouble more because he's been alive longer, more chances to do things. If so, with Kohberger only being about 28, not as much. And I guess with the university aspect, going for that PhD and all that, criminology, I guess that might have distracted him, helped him focus better and move forwards in the right direction, though the Idaho 4 case kind of went backwards again. Anyway, that aside, just keep that in mind, carry on talking about it. If you know of any other past criminal history with Kohberger, feel free to list it in the chat or the comment section down below, okay? I remember in the past there was those rumours and talks, ideas that did Kohberger hurt anybody else in the past, kill anyone. So far, I've not really seen that mentioned anywhere like, officially, but you never know, there could be more twists and turns. But for now, let's just move on to the next article and see what that's all about. So the second article title reads, Bryan Kohberger has a serious character flaw which resulted in chilling outcome, criminologist says. A serious character flaw. Resulted in chilling outcome. What, so it's about the chilling outcome of what he ended up doing and the method and style? Is that what it means? Well, we'll see further on down. And you look at those eyes. I mean, I don't know if anyone agrees, but maybe it's just because of his eye direction. When you look at the photo on the right, where he's obviously younger, he's got a pretty straight, stern face. Maybe you could say emotionless, but, you know, he's just keeping a straight face. Is he not smiling because he's not supposed to, or he just didn't feel like it? I don't know. But would you say, has anything changed with Kohberger? If you look at an older photo of him compared to how he is now, is there any change? Let me know your thoughts. I guess all I would say is maybe more so the eyes look a little bit darker. That's all I'm saying, okay? Right. Investigative criminologist and author Christopher Berry D has published a number of books giving insight into the twisted minds of serial killers. Wait, so are they assuming that Kohberger is a serial killer? I thought to be a serial killer, you kill more than, well, kill 4 people or more, and it's over a course of time. Kohberger did it all in one night, so, Anyway. Let's read. The real-life Mindhunter has been face-to-face with the most infamous killers and helped solve cold cases before turning his attention to the accused Idaho killer, Kohberger, 28, charged with the murders of those people. Yeah. Kohberger maintains his innocence and declined to submit a plea at a hearing in May, which resulted in the judge doing what he did. As a suspect becomes loosely linked to serial killers like the BTK killer. And Kenneth Bianchi Berry D has explained how Kohberger's ego is a fatal flaw. Oh, interesting. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. So BTK, that was the guy with kind of like the boldish head and the beard and kind of moustache. BTK stands for bind, torture, and kill. Okay, that was his methods at the time. Tie them up in a chair, torture them, and then finish them off eventually. I believe he did that in his house or one of the houses, right? Anything else? I don't know who Kenneth Bianchi is. Never heard of them. Anyone knows? Let me know. Says, he even noted how his narcissism may be a leading factor when looking for a motive for the killings. Narcissism. Does anyone agree with that? Anyone agree that Kohberger demonstrates narcissism within his behaviour? I remember when I was talking to Miss T in the chat in the past about Brenner, saying, is there any signs of potential narcissism there or any other alternative things going on? You know, there's like possibilities. Criminologist told the US Sun Kohberger has a serious character flaw. He called Kohberger an extreme narcissist with an overinflated ego, bordering on self-interest at the expense of others with his arrogance, bringing him into conflict with his peers, who collectively dismissed him from his post as a teaching assistant. Wow. Okay. Suspected quadruple murder received a master's degree in criminal justice at DeSales University and was a doctoral student in criminology at Washington State University. So what? Is it like the narcissism and ego within Bryan Kohberger, the negative being fell out with people, partially led to what he did in the Idaho 4 case, but the only positive was it was the one fuel and drive which pushed him forwards to improve himself in the educational field, despite his past history at the age of 19, being addicted to drugs and stealing sister's phone in 2014. So you could say that the narcissism part has, not helped him or done him favours, and it has impacted and negatively affected people out there, like the victims of the Idaho 4 case, and maybe others around in some way or another, maybe verbally. Yeah, maybe the narcissism factor is one thing that propelled him forwards in getting away from the drug addiction and improve himself educationally. So like pros and cons, more cons than pros for him. Anything else? According to the New York Times, he had been a teaching assistant at the WSU as part of his doctoral qualification, from which he was let go. Just 2 weeks before the murders, staff members arranged a meeting with Kohberger to address their growing concerns about his behaviour and conduct. Right, so 2 weeks beforehand. Arranged a meeting. Growing concerns, behaviour, conduct. So what, he was starting to slip away at that point 2 weeks beforehand? He was becoming that danger, that threat? Maybe. I was suggesting that he did what he did because he was, let go. He couldn't be a teaching assistant anymore, and that annoyed him. Kohberger was fired from his teaching assistant role on December 19th. I guess getting fired from what you've been doing, you've been focusing on as a distraction from maybe other problems, and then because you've been let go, what do you do now? Where do you go? And maybe if he does have that narcissism within it, it could be the feeling of, how dare you get rid of me? You should be grateful I'm here, or something. And then he takes out on other people like a form of collateral damage. Okay, if he can't do what he does, he takes out on other people who are tied with university. That theme, I guess. To make a statement, maybe, to get revenge, to feel better. Maybe that's his motive. The catalyst being fired from his role. Anyway, this was due to his unsatisfactory performance as a teaching assistant, including his failure to meet the norms of professional behaviour in his interactions with the facility. Right, okay. Not exactly performing. It was also reported at the time that Kohberger had followed one female student to her car and made others feel uncomfortable. Well, that's not exactly... Yeah. I mean, one of those things where, maybe not in this case, but in other cases, like if it was a female following a guy to a car, the guy probably wouldn't say they feel uncomfortable or they wouldn't complain, but when the roles are reversed, it can be a different outcome. But I think in this case with Kohberger, right, you take aside one of the male victims, the 3 other females that were murdered, okay, in the house. And prior to that, Kohberger was following a female. And then back in 2014, Kohberger stole the sister's phone, who's a female. It's like a female pattern going on, how Kohberger behaves around them, or what he thinks. So all these like little tiny pointers and hints as to why he did what he did, or little small actions of what he could be capable of. Okay, besides following the female to the car, even though Kohberger may have done bad stuff down the line, this following to the car could have been another reason behind it. I don't know. It's best not going down too deep down one hole, just in case there's an alternative explanation. Berry D said his overinflated ego was like a balloon floating high in the air, which was suddenly popped, and the outcome now lie in graves. Not dissimilar to so many well-documented cases, this can only be classified as a mass murder event. Yeah, the motive being jealousy, seeking revenge. Okay, so I can understand the revenge part. The jealousy aspect, taking it out on female students. What would Kohberger have to be jealous about there? Kohberger being a bit older, more experienced, I guess kind of higher up as well. I don't know about that part, but the revenge part, taking it out on the wrong people, but in the name of him being fired from that role, what he was in. I get that part. Kohberger's ego seems intact after he was seen strutting into court on Tuesday for a 30-minute hearing in which he appeared void of emotion. Kohberger's public defender, Annie Taylor, said at the hearing that the legal team has not received the materials it requested from the prosecution. That includes training records of 3 police officers who interviewed witnesses at the scene and made decisions about key evidence. She added that there is now a heightened standard following the state's intention to seek the death penalty. Prosecutors announced that they would pursue the death penalty in court documents filed on Monday. This move was publicly supported by families of Goncalves and Mogan. Okay, so Mogan family also want death penalty, right? Kohberger's trial is set for October 2nd, 2023. He's being held in Latah County Jail without bail. Okay. Let me know what you think about it. Do you agree that Kohberger demonstrates signs of narcissism, that his ego is inflated, that when that bubble, that balloon popped, then it just led to that outburst of irrational acts and thoughts, possibly? I mean, have I ever thought that Kohberger appeared as a narcissist? I've not really analysed him long enough to come to that conclusion, right? All I said was his behaviour, presence, atmosphere, kind of a bit of a psychopath, and that was all, okay? But going into the narcissism part, I don't know why, I just feel like the word narcissism gets used a lot these days. Not even in cases, just in general life, okay? Everyone being labelled as one. But, you know, in this case, just a factor of revenge. I can kind of understand it, right? Obviously, why would you take out those 3 students when they've got nothing to do with Kohberger being fired from his role where he was at? I'm not quite sure, but maybe it was more just to send a message like, how could you do this to me? I'm going to retaliate back in some way, so it sends shockwaves through the community. Now, with that narcissism, did it ever lead to him feeling invincible, that no one could touch him, that he could do anything, and he was powerful, and he could get away with it? I don't know. I mean, maybe you could say that despite the chilling outcome as it is worded, that possibly the narcissism and overinflated ego led to him making certain mistakes. You know, if he's supposedly the only and sole individual suspect there at the time, that by leaving that sheath, the knife sheath behind with the DNA of him on it, leaving that behind, although that was just about it, to be honest, it was still enough, right? Maybe if he didn't leave the sheath behind, then it would have been dragged out further. But you get what I'm saying? Sometimes when you feel invincible, you can become a bit reckless, you can become a bit more casual. You know, you might stop trying. I mean, you stop trying, that's when you can slip up at times, right? I mean, it is a bit of a contrast in a sense, in a way, that when you look at James Brenner in the Dylan Rounds case, the only reason why I said was there a level of narcissism or entitlement, because when the police presence was there near the Grainshed property in Lucin, Utah, you know, June 2nd, 2022, despite police being there, Brenner was able to just casually walk to the shed, go inside, move a vehicle which has key evidence on, treat it as a crime scene, drive it on out, go back in, bag stuff up, possible key important evidence, could even be Dylan Rounds, remains, you never know, bag it up, not get stopped by the police, and when questioned, I'm just doing spring cleaning, and it's shrugged off like that. Brenner could just get on with it. The fact that Brenner had the audacity to even do it in the first place, despite the police presence. I know you can call the police out for not doing enough at the time, but for Brenner to just even think, well, it's my time to shine and to get on with stuff, I don't care. And he did get away with it, despite being reckless. That initial attitude of doing it in the first place, maybe feeling invincible because of the fact that that pending aggravated assault in 2021 in Montello, Nevada, it's not as if Brenner was immediately arrested on the spot. That was dragged out as well. So it was like a long pending thing, but the obvious eventuality of you're going to get taken in, but during a space of time that nothing's happening, oh, I might as well do whatever, like in Brenner's point of view. And he was able to for a certain amount of time. That invincibility, a little bit of narcissism, you can't touch me, you know, you're supposed to, but you're not, so I guess I can do what I want. Did it lead to Brenner being a bit reckless, slipping up? Well, yeah, it did lead to slipping up, you know, despite doing the spring cleaning and bagging possible evidence up from the grain shed, he completely neglected the shirt that he wore days before when he took Dylan out, right? The bloodied shirt, which was later identified in that timestamp video of Dylan's phone footage inside Brenner's trailer, cleaning a gun with blood on him. That shirt was never washed or thrown away with the other rubbish or bags. Did he forget? Maybe. Was he too busy thinking I'm invincible? Maybe. So he neglected certain key evidence and left behind, identified, and it incriminated him. Kind of like with Kohberger in a sense. That's all I would say. But was that narcissism, inflated ego, was it always there? Was it caused by the drug usage in the past? Or did it exist before that and that's why he went on drugs to try and block it out? I don't know. Just like these little factors to pick at, not to go too deep down because it's only just ideas and theories, but you never know, it could explain some of the factors and outcomes, right? But be sure to share your own ideas to what you think, okay? I think what we'll do now, we'll just move on to the next article. This next one, I guess, is to do with either the demolition, I think the demolition of when it's going to take place. Let's have a look now. The title reads, Family of Idaho murder victim speaks out after university announces plans to demolish home where 4 were found dead. Steve Goncalves also shared his thoughts about the news that prosecutors would be seeking death penalty in the case if suspect Kohberger is found guilty. Family of one of the 4 University of Idaho students found murdered in her off-campus home is speaking out after the college announced plans to raise the building. In quotes, I feel the house is evidence, not just for the prosecution, but for both sides, Steve Goncalves tells Inside Edition. His daughter, Kaylee Goncalves, killed in there, along with the others, yeah. Goncalves points out that if the house is demolished, a jury will never be able to see the residence. A number of high-profile murder trials from O.J. Simpson to Alex Murdaugh have included trips by juries to see some of the residences referenced in the case. Okay. In quotes, you kind of just want to scream from the mountaintops, just let it be, says Shannon Gray, the attorney for the Goncalves family. Don't touch the house until the trial is over. True, it makes sense. It might as well be knocked down at a later point, but not now, not in between. What good does that do, right? You know, maybe it wouldn't happen, but just imagine if there was some kind of secret hidden evidence somewhere in the residence or in the building or just outside. It's knocked down, disturbed, ruined, contaminated. That's not good, is it? Right? Like disturbing when it's not been put to rest yet. Anyway, he says that the college currently plans to raise the house this summer so it can be gone by the start of the fall of semester. Right. They ask us what we think of demoting it and we say, don't do it, says Gray. And they say, thanks, but we are demoing it. All right. Goncalves also shared his thoughts about the news that prosecutors would be seeking the death penalty in the case if suspect Kohberger is found guilty of murder. If he is sentenced to death, it would be by lethal injection. Though a new law in Idaho allows for death by firing squad if the drugs needed for a lethal injection are not available. Okay, well, what I saw last time, I think it was the Goncalves family that were pushing the idea of a firing squad, more specifically. Goncalves says that he would attend the execution. I know I'll be there, says Goncalves. Other family members have told me that they'll be there for the other victims. Earlier this week, prosecuting attorney William Thompson provided 5 arguments to support his decision to pursue the death penalty in the notice obtained by Inside Edition. He writes, in quotes, at the time the murder was committed, the defendant also committed another murder. At the time the murder was committed, the defendant also committed another murder. What, because he killed more than one person? The murder was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, manifesting exceptional depravity. The defendant exhibited utter disregard for human life. The murder was committed in the perpetration of or attempt to perpetrate arson, that burglary, kidnapping, or mayhem, and the defendant killed, intended a killing, or acted with reckless indifference toward human life. So the the one before burglary, the inappropriate behaviour to someone, you know, they were saying that, like, was it all the victims or some of them, the females, they were laying in bed? So was there going to be an attempt to do something there besides the killing? Makes you think, right? The defendant has exhibited a propensity to commit murder, which will probably constitute a continuing threat to society. So that's a key line, that. So this person is highlighting that if for whatever reason Kohberger was let out, released now or down the line, that he could repeat the offence, but towards other people down the line. Okay, we saw it with Brenner being classified as a threat to society, the general public, so no bail for him. Goes on to say Kohberger told a previous public defender that he expects to be exonerated at trial. In May, he declined to enter a plea after being formally charged with 4 counts of murder. The judge in the case entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. In a filing last week, his defence team questioned the strength of the case against their client, claiming that the DNA of 3 men had been discovered at the murder scene. That's true. 2 of the pieces of DNA linked with 2 unknown males are within the house. And then on the outside of the house, another piece of DNA was found on a glove belonging to another random unknown male. Makes you think, right, who they were they there present at the time when it happened, after or before? Kohberger will appear in court for a hearing next week, at which time the judge is expected to rule on a number of motions. His trial is set to begin on October 2nd. Is that it? Okay. Be sure to let me know your thoughts about this demolition taking place. Is it appropriate, needed, necessary? Is it the right time, or should it just remain up forever? I mean, I believe we looked at a past article or so where it was saying how by keeping it up, it could lead to like some kind of tourist attraction, people who are interested in true crime and all that, people coming on down in groups, numbers, taking photos, selfies, serving as a public reminder for people around there of what happened. Do you want a reminder? Probably not. You want to try and erase it, but still remember the victims who were involved in it, but try and get rid of the darkness as much as possible. So the demolition would make sense, and it would probably stop people from coming on down who are visiting just for that. I get that. As for how it's been worded in this article, how, you know, the case isn't over yet, it's still going underway and stuff, that it's probably best for it just to remain treated like literally like a crime scene even to this day. And then once the case is closed and you'd think the justice has been served, then maybe they can demolish it. But what good does it do getting rid of it now? Maybe to just get rid of it now, get rid of all the badness, the darkness. But if that just so happens to somewhat negatively impact the case, and for some reason, somehow it leads to Kohberger being let off, released, found innocent, he could reoffend once again and impact more people elsewhere, right? So long-term basis, it's probably not worth taking that risk. Keep everything as it is, don't disturb it, and let the legal stuff continue in the cases, and then take action at a later point. That's what I would say. So let me know your thoughts, of course. But I think that's probably it for now. Okay, I just wanted to share this little bit of news with you. Of course, you can leave your comments down below, or if you do have any questions, okay? Hopefully you found the video somewhat interesting, and I guess we'll see what happens next. But for now, thanks for watching, goodbye, and good night.